was really tough for me to put together this panel. I think I went out looking for people because I wanted to get some of the best, because my perspective is Wisconsin is behind. We're way behind sort of on this hemp world. There's at least 14 states that have more years of experience than us in hemp production. At least 10 states have more permitted acres. You know, this is like being in Utah 20 years ago, whenever they started going into dairy. You know, it's just like they weren't in the game, but now, you know, there's some large operations at places like that. That's how we are with hemp. We're way behind everybody else. You kind of saw the Canadian, where they are, they're way ahead of us in terms of years of experience. So what we got to get started though, and so there's a pamphlet that some of you might have picked up. Shahir Birney and Amber Embley from UW River Falls they helped us by doing a survey, and I want to focus on these 2 points here: the sources of startup capital for Wisconsin hemp producers, and then where they have for a market for their buyer. Just to give you a sense of how far behind we are, you know, most of it is self-financed. There's some overlap there. I know that adds up to 100%, more than 100%, because they use multiple sources. And, you know, not even a third had a buyer locked in. And you saw what's happening with those prices, and I'm guessing if some of you are hemp producers, you could easily fall into that gray or orange area. And the one thing we found are these 6 barriers that in the state here, and this is the part that was really interesting to me. There's a lack of grower networks. We've got a couple of hemp associations that have appeared, and it's back to that lack of buyers. And you see, like what the Canadian Hemp Trade Association has, you saw what the Colorado is doing in that CHAMP program. They're, like I said, they're way ahead of us and things like that. But we have an extension page there to help connect up people with buyers, because that's a major issue. There's so many people who have put it in the ground without a buyer in mind, and it just, you got to, like Tyler said, I feel bad for you if you don't have a buyer and it's August, you know, and you don't have someone to buy your crop yet. Seed availability has always been an issue. We heard a lot about that. It's the number one cost. This is a very labor-intensive crop, yet seed is the number one cost. There's multiple stories of fraud. You heard that as well from others. Weather, that was a big issue this year. Welcome to agriculture. That's the way it is in all of agriculture. You heard my other talk on just crop production this year in the state. Crop insurance will help, but you know, that's a help. Labor availability is a major issue. It's a highly labor-intensive crop, yet we're very low unemployment rates. A lot of these, the group I look at here that's been really good in this is the vegetable production, the organic vegetable producers, these farmer markets. Those people have to put crews together, you know, when they have a lot of vegetable production, and I think they're the group that knows how to get people out there and get crews to work on raising this crop. I had a student in my class, her family was raising hemp, and she said every weekend I and my cousins are out working on the hemp field, you know, the patch, because there was just a lot of work to do. And same with the equipment. There's a lot of, you know, people are coming up with new ways to do the equipment. Just to reduce the need for labor, or to make it less stressful physically on the workers. The last one is obtaining formal financing. That was always a difficult one, and the part that scared me in that first picture there of how many people are self-financing, to me that's convincing family and friends or yourself that this is a good idea, putting your own money in, and there's not a lot of formal analysis on that sometimes. I think that will start to relax some, but expect more formality. You need a business plan with realistic prices and probably some insurance requirements to help out a plan what to do if your crop is too hot, things like that. I think Wisconsin, the CBD has been the big push, and you know, like 80% of the acres of production is CBD. That market is quickly saturated here. It's globally competitive. Be realistic on the prices to expect. You saw Tyler's prices, you know, I think these are just, you know, we lost half the price in just from August to December at this place, and these are $1.73. Tyler had $1 up there for those major hemp states. So that's $7 per pound, you know, it's not the $28 like is in the report. Those prices are gone. It's going to be a while. You heard Ted's description in Canada, how they were living on these, okay, it took us a few years to work that surplus through whenever they had a big growth in their production. And yet the seed costs aren't coming down. Even though the price of the output has gone down by 50%, it's only 20-25% in the seed. So there went their margin. Here are some of the strengths we have as a state, though, why I think hemp will happen here at a certain level. We have a very diverse agriculture here. Wisconsin farmers have experience planting a lot of different crops. Here's some of it, lots of them. There's a support system. There's a lot of different associations. Some of them have, you look at the beginning there at the funding or people who helped support this conference. We have that infrastructure here. We have both commercial scale and small scale farming here, and we have a history with hemp. Here's some of our these are our major minor crop industries. Potato, we're third largest potato producer in the U.S., 300 million acres or dollars worth of production in 2018 in the state. Our processing vegetable industry, we're second in the nation, $176 million. Cranberry, we're the number one. We produce about half the world's cranberries here on about 13,000 acres, 143 million. Organic milk, we're the second largest producer of organic milk, 125 million. That's back in 2016. Organic vegetables, all those farmers markets and stuff, we're eighth in that, but it's still, that's 24 million back in 2016. So we're in these markets. Ginseng is a little harder to tie down how much we're producing there. That's a storable crop, and they don't like to tell us what they're doing exactly. USDA doesn't have good data. Somewhere in that range of 50 to 90 million is a pretty good guess. Take that $7 a pound, assume a pretty solid average of 1,500 pounds per acre and 10,000 acres, it's 105 million. That puts hemp on that list of crops real quickly there. And again, it's going to come down to acres. But you can see we can quickly put hemp in that list of our specialty crops, and we have the experience doing that. Before all you talked about this is food processing is one of our major strengths as a state. We're second in cheese production. We use 90% of our milk to make cheese. You heard that from Mark Stephenson. We're butter, all those things like that. Second largest processing vegetable industry. We're good at these things. You look at the Steve Deller and Matt Curez and some of those people in his shop over there, that Center for Economic Development that Steve Deller runs. They call these things called location quotients. It's a measure of how good a certain industry is in certain things. We are good at processing food. That's one of the better than these other major states. Colorado, Oregon, those states, Montana, they all have major hemp production in acres. We don't have that, but we definitely have a strong food processing industry in the state, both dairy and other kinds of foods. And that means the machinery and equipment manufacturing, our location quotients are very high in those areas. That means when you need a new machine to do an extraction or compression or to do something with the processing, make a new bearing, the person who you're talking to or you can go visit is just down the road sometimes or just an hour away. You don't have to get in an airplane, you don't have to deal with shipping and all this kind of stuff. They're literally just right by. And the other thing we're really good at is packaging. The paper and plastic used to put food things in, we're really good at that. We have very strong, that whole industry other states would love to have if they're trying to get into the hemp world. So thinking about the future of hemp in Wisconsin, hemp is going to be a part of our state. I can see that, but we've got a lot of work to do yet. This is not going to happen without a lot of people putting in a lot of work. Hemp farming, I'm not worried about that in the sense that I know we grow these other crops. I know we can do hemp farming. We've used to do it. We can still do it. The agronomic and equipment problems are going to be solved. We can do commercial scale, some of that stuff you saw Ted talking about, the agricultural model of hemp production they have up there, and then we've kind of got the horticultural level production, more niche marketing. We do that already with vegetables. We have both of those active in the state at nationally prominent levels. We're going to need to solve the THC problem. You heard Ted's point. You've heard Dawn. Short term, we're going to push for higher concentrations accepted, longer harvest windows for that testing. The USDA idea they're putting out as a proposal. But longer term, we got to solve this with breeding, non-THC varieties, certified hemp seed like they have in Canada, something. We just can't have, last year talking to Shelby, somewhere around 14 to 18% of our hemp crop was destroyed because it got hot. Other states, it's much higher. Tyler talked about 30+% last night. There's a newspaper article I saw, 40% in Arizona. I mean, you can't farm very well when 40% of your crop is thrown away each year. It just really cuts into profitability. Processing and marketing is where the economic impact is going to be. Farming, I love farmers. I grew up with them. $22 billion is what Steve Deller said is the impact of the farm production. But where the real impact comes from is what do you do after you harvest it? The $105 million is where we blow up. That's all of agriculture in the state. That's where we need that creative class, that development, economic development we talked about after the first panel this morning. We need these entrepreneurs to develop and market new hemp products, food and beverages, supplements and additives, fiber, livestock uses, very much along the lines what you heard Ted talking about in Canada. We have a major comparative advantage in food and beverages relative to a lot of these other states. I think for a long time, you've seen the numbers on CBD, that'll be around, but I think there's going to be a major focus on food products using hemp seed for a while. Canada is a major producer, and again, they have some decent, solid advantages there. In the U.S., we've approved a sense of the same compound, the same foods: hulled hemp seed protein powder, and hemp seed for oil for food use. So they're all considered genuinely recognized as safe. We can sell that now. You can't use CBD in food. You can't feed hemp to livestock yet, just like in Canada. What I think you're going to see is small companies developing successful products in local and regional markets, and then maybe some of them being sold and being bought out by big companies, then replicate and send it around the world, type of thing. But I think you hold up, Dawn Thilmany this morning talked about the Justin peanut butter. There'll be the equivalent on the hemp world. Somebody in Wisconsin will come up with something that'll catch on, and then it'll get big, and then somebody will come in and buy it. Maybe not. Maybe they'll grow big and stay local, like Organic Valley has done. But I think that's what we're going to need. And I think that food and beverage side of things, something on the food is where, as a state, that's a major advantage we have. We've done this with dairy and cheese. We're really good at we have a lot of processed, little small community meat locker, they make their own different products there. We do it with vegetables. We do it with fermented products. We're good at those things. The supplements and additives, it's very clear to me that the CBD, has been the major push, but that's where the money was for farmers. I think that market is quickly saturated. You saw my quote there before: never underestimate the potential of ag to oversupply any market. We seem to be able to do it no matter what. There's some issues we'll solve, product consistency and standards, and we need medical research on CBD and THC just like everyone else. You heard Ted talking about some of the options there. There's so many different compounds there. But when does that CBD market be saturated? Has it already been done so? Are there other extracts? But a lot of that stuff, I think that CBD level of demand is not huge. We can grow a lot of CBD, produce a lot of CBD. That's not where the long term is until somebody comes up with a new product or something different. It's going to be a while. I think in the short term, food is a better bet for the state of Wisconsin, and there's a lot of players in that CBD world. Fiber and livestock use is the last one. Fiber is currently not a comparative advantage for Wisconsin. I spent some time. Fabric mills, 10 plus hours away. They're somewhere else. We don't have any fabric production around here. You heard Ted talking about they need to attract some serious capital investment before you put in something to do things with that fiber. And I don't know if anyone's willing to drop 300 to 500 million, was what Ted's numbers were talking about for Canada. Who's ready to do that? That's a serious investment. Paper, Wisconsin already has a lot of paper. I mean, are you going to convince the people making paper up in the Wausau area or Appleton, those areas, Fox River Valley, you need to start going hemp? It has to show advantages over our traditional paper industry, which is already under some stress financially. Some of these insulation products are very interesting in that. I was listening to Ted last night talk about some of these, the industrial uses, and I think there's potential there. Their climate is very much like ours, and so, but I think there's still work to do in that one, but I think it's going to take us a while yet. But there's a lot of entrepreneur work there that has to happen. Maybe we can go to Canada and steal some of their ideas, I don't know. Last one is this livestock uses. They're still waiting for FDA approval. I'm assuming it'll come. It's generally recognized as safe people, so why can't I feed it to my cow and then drink the milk? I don't know. Right now it's not possible. I'd really like to know, can hemp seed compete with particularly soybeans as a feed? And the other one that really surprised, I was looking last night a little bit, University of Kentucky study, maybe Tyler knows about it. There's videos. I couldn't find a document. But it shows making hemp plants into silage with the seed already in there, so it's like a oil-rich seed as your silage. Said it's similar to alfalfa. Maybe the question is it competitive with alfalfa? It's an annual crop as opposed to a perennial crop. Maybe it'll have some advantages in rotations. I don't know if we get livestock approval, and then we got to put some time in to see how it works. Does the milk or meat taste different from these hemp-fed animals? That would be a very interesting question. Maybe that's where our value-added product is, milk from cows fed hemp, or something like that, and it's got a different taste profile or a different health profile. Maybe there's some opportunities there. I don't know. And the last one is maybe hemp as a bedding. I think that's going to be a secondary market. But so the emphasis I got on this when I really put these speakers together was I wanted people to understand how far behind we really are. These states are way ahead of us. You heard Colorado's just about finishing up their big CHAMP initiative. You saw Tyler's numbers. Canada, they've been doing it since the 90s. Nirvana was still running around doing some music, and they were just getting started, and that's how long ago it was. It's just we're way behind. But we have comparative advantages. I know we can catch up if we want to. We can add it to our list of specialty crops, and our food and beverage, I think, is a really strong sector that if we have the right creative folks, I think we can do something in that space. We're going to need lots of research. UW is heavily involved in that. Shelby is going to be leading the point person on that, I think, in the college here, but there's other kinds of research. And so that's kind of where I'm going.